Your Excellencies, I wish to answer a few questions that have been raised by the speakers. Many speakers, especially the African Union, underscored the need for the Commission to work closely with national Ethiopian institutions. I must say that when we were in Addis Ababa, we had very constructive discussions with all the national institutions. There has been a delay in sharing information in logistics as well as in discussing events and processes. But the day after our report was published, the JIT sent us a draft framework for cooperation. We will study that closely and try and get a discussion going on how we can collaborate more closely with national institutions while maintaining our independence and impartiality. Second, questions were asked with regard to our cooperation with the African Union. Let me just say the Commission sees its work as completely complementary and supportive of the African Union processes. It is our fervent hope that the peace process led by the African Union will be a success. The outbreak of war has a causal relationship to violations of human rights and humanitarian law, and that is why we have even put out press releases urging peace institutions to do their work. Peace is often a precondition to the end of all violations. But parallel to a peace process, we have to have processes for justice at the national, regional, and international level. So we will work with our partners, but we will also maintain our impartiality and independence. The events unfolding before us requires everyone to respect their different mandates, but to remain in dialogue and in a constructive interaction with each other. Finally, there were questions with regard to what we expect of the Human Rights Council. We expect the Human Rights Council to remain seized of these issues and have a scrutiny of the events that are unfolding in Ethiopia. Wars without witnesses produce atrocity crimes. Therefore, we see our report not only as a tool of justice, but also as a tool of prevention. We urge the Human Rights Council and its members to work towards ceasing these, helping to the cessation of hostilities and working for justice. We also hope that members in their bilateral will use bilateral persuasion to make the parties adhere to international norms of human rights and humanitarian law. Finally, with regard to accountability, we are monitoring and will work with national processes and regional processes such as the African Union Commission and maintain an effective dialogue with those processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to address a number of the questions that came from delegations and observers regarding our investigative processes, past, present, and future. We were asked about the criteria that we use for our selection of the selected incidents and themes. These were explained in our terms of reference, and we tried very hard to address incidents that would involve different perpetrators from the different parties to the conflict, different sorts of violations, and violations of particular gravity that deserved the attention of the Commission. In addition, we were quite careful to avoid duplication of the work of the JIT. Indeed, in our report, we only examined one issue that had been discussed by the JIT. All the other material that we examined were incidents that were not discussed by the JIT. And so we worked very hard to act in the spirit of building upon the report of the JIT, and we would continue to do so in the future if our mandate were renewed. Secondly, with respect to questions about access and cooperation for the government, we have been working hard and been in contact with the two parties, the two most immediate parties to the conflict, as well as one neighbor that is the host of refugees. We had good discussions in Addis, even though they did not yield the result that we had hoped. We are certainly prepared to discuss access with all relevant parties in the future, and we hope that that access will be achieved both to Ethiopia and to the neighboring states. This is something that is, of course, important to our mandate, and we hope that there will be a response to the call of the Council that parties provide us with the access. Finally, a number of states asked us about our priorities for the future. With respect to the advisory role, we look forward, as my co-member has said, to work with national institutions, including the EHRC and the IMTF and the National Dialogue Commission, to hear what they are doing, to discuss international standards and provide them advice about accountability and about transitional justice. On the investigative front, we've identified a number of areas in our report where we've received initial information, but because of the time and resource constraints, we were not able to look into these further. And so were we provided with the additional mandate and resources, we would begin to look at those as part of our priorities for the future. We remain eager to write a report that examines the violations committed by all the parties to the conflict without any agenda focused on any particular party, and to continue to act in the mode of impartiality and independence that this Council expects from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This brings us to the end of the interactive dialogue. I wish to thank Ms. Murungi, Mr. Ratner, and Ms. Komaraswamy for their participation, for the work, for the report. And as President of the Human Rights Council, I sincerely hope that we can continue the work of the Commission in the spirit of cooperation that has proven fruitful with the government of Ethiopia, and that we can help as a council to find a way to continue that good dialogue and cooperation that we witness in the report.